The door hissed open with a pneumatic sigh, and Mira Lowell stepped into what she assumed was Lecture Hall 7B. She was already 10 minutes late for her advanced xenobiology seminar, and the last thing she needed was another mark against her attendance record at the Galactic Confluence University. But the moment she crossed the threshold, she knew something was terribly wrong. The lecture hall was enormous, far larger than any human-scale classroom. The seats rose in steep tiers toward a vaulted ceiling that glowed with bioluminescent panels. And sitting in those seats, staring at her with wide, unblinking eyes, were dozens of creatures that looked like a cross between oversized otters and bear cubs, each covered in sleek, iridescent fur that shifted colors with their emotions. Kashari cubs. Juveniles of one of the galaxy's most notoriously aggressive species. Mira froze. Her datapad said 7B. The door had said 7B, but this was clearly not her xenobiology class. Before she could back out, one of the cubs in the front row, a particularly attentive-looking specimen with silver-tipped ears, chirped excitedly and gestured with a three-fingered paw toward the podium at the front of the room. "Instructor! Instructor here!" the cub announced in heavily accented galactic standard. The entire class erupted in a chorus of excited chirps and whistles. Their fur rippled through shades of bright yellow and orange, colors that Mira's xenobiology training told her indicated curiosity and anticipation. "Wait, no, I'm not—" Mira started, but the cub in front was already shuffling his datapad and sitting up straighter. His tail curled neatly around his seat. His nameplate read, "Riku Kashari Juvenile, 3rd Cycle." "Class, attention," Riku chirped, his fur flashing a disciplinary blue. The other cubs immediately quieted, their attention snapping to Mira with an intensity that made her skin prickle. This was bad. This was very bad. Kashari were known across 12 sectors as warriors, hunters, and notoriously proud beings who did not take kindly to disrespect. Their cubs were supposedly being groomed from hatching to continue that legacy. And here she was, a lost human graduate student, apparently being mistaken for their instructor. Mira glanced toward the door. She could leave. She should leave. But 40 pairs of predatory eyes tracked her every movement, and something in their expectant gazes made her hesitate. Where was their actual instructor? Mira cleared her throat. "Your regular teacher, where are they?" "Instructor Velkoth called sick," one cub called from the back. "You are substitute, yes?" "Oh no, I'm not actually." "What is lesson today?" Riku interrupted eagerly, his fur now a brilliant gold. "We study the art of strategic dominance, Chapter 7? Mira's mind raced. She was in a room full of predator cubs who thought she was their teacher. If she ran now, it would be seen as cowardice. And her xenobiology textbooks had been very clear about Kashari attitudes toward cowardice. But if she stayed and fumbled through a lecture on something she knew nothing about, she'd be exposed as a fraud. Unless an idea sparked in her mind. Humans had a reputation in the galactic confluence, a strange paradoxical reputation. They were seen as weak and soft, without natural weapons or armor. But they were also known for something else, their bizarre ability to adapt, to improvise, to survive situations that should have killed them. If she was going to survive this, she'd have to be very, very human about it. Mira walked to the podium with a confidence she didn't feel. She set her datapad down and looked out at the sea of eager, furry faces. "Today," she announced, "we're going to talk about a different kind of dominance. Not the kind you establish with claws or teeth, but the kind you establish with your mind." The cub's fur flickered with confused purples and questioning greens. Riku raised his paw. "But the art of strategic dominance says that strength determines hierarchy. The strong lead, the weak follow." "Does it?" Mira asked. "Tell me, Riku, what happens when you meet an opponent you cannot defeat with strength alone?" The cub's ears flattened slightly. His fur dimmed. "Then, you die with honor?" "Or," Mira said, leaning forward, "you outsmart them." She spent the next hour weaving a lesson that drew on every human survival story she'd ever heard. She told them about persistence hunting, how humans on ancient Earth would chase prey for days until the animals collapsed from exhaustion. She explained tools, how humans had taken their weak bodies and multiplied their strength through leverage and ingenuity. She described social bonds, How humans survive by cooperating in ways that made them stronger than any individual. The cubs listened with rapt attention. Their fur cycled through every color of fascination. Emerald greens, deep blues, brilliant whites. Riku's paw shot up constantly. But how did humans survive without claws? What is stubbornness? Tell again about the human who cut off own arm to escape trap. By the time Mira finished, the cubs were leaning forward in their seats, their eyes gleaming with something that looked almost like respect. The door hissed open. A massive Kashari adult entered, easily 3 meters tall, with fur like burnished copper and scars across their muzzle. Instructor Velkoth, Mira assumed, looking very much not sick. "What is meaning of this?" Velkoth growled, their voice a subsonic rumble. Riku jumped up. "Instructor, Substitute taught us about tactical flexibility and cognitive dominance strategies and human persistence hunting." The other cubs erupted in excited agreement, their fur blazing with enthusiastic yellows and golds. Velkoth's eyes narrowed as they looked at Mira. "You are not Professor Harkjin." "No, sir," Mira admitted. "I'm Mira Lowell, graduate student. I accidentally walked into the wrong lecture hall." The silence that followed was deafening. Then Velkoth did something Mira never expected. The massive warrior's fur rippled into a deep, amused crimson, and a rumbling sound emerged from their chest. Laughter. "You entered wrong room, saw 40 Kashari cubs, and decided to teach them anyway?" Velkoth's eyes gleamed. "That is most human thing I have ever heard." Riku stood up, his posture formal. "Instructor Velkoth, we request human Mira as guest lecturer. She has much wisdom about alternative dominance strategies." A chorus of chirps agreed. Velkoth studied Mira for a long moment, then dipped their head in acknowledgement. "Very well. Human Mira Lowell, you will return next cycle. The cubs have decided." As Mira left the lecture hall, her datapad chimed. Her actual xenobiology class had been canceled. Behind her, she could hear Riku explaining to his classmates, "See? Humans do not run even when they should. This is why they are terrifying." Mira smiled. Maybe being human wasn't such a disadvantage after all.